Hey everybody, TJ here. Welcome to another episode of Smash Ultimate Countdown, the series where we help you count down the days to the release of Smash Ultimate on Nintendo Switch on December 7th by breaking down everything that appears on the Smash blog, week by week and unpacking it, laying out all the delicious details, mixing in a little bit of my own opinion, and inviting you to share yours. The Smash blog for this week is more or less a general highlight reel of the Smash Direct from last week. We covered that in some detail, but now that we've all had a little bit of time to digest it, absorb some of the information, formulate our thoughts, I'm going to come at it with my own fresh outlook and consider what this means for Smash Ultimate in general. And maybe they drop some clues about other things that we can expect, so we'll dig into that too. The first highlight for this week is for Richter Belmont. I've taken the opportunity in every single Smash Ultimate, and you know what, honestly, I've mentioned in every show that I've ever done on here, Smash Supremacy, Custom Conquest, Smash Switch Speculation, and I don't know if a Smash Ultimate Countdown episode has gone by yet where I haven't expressed my love for Simon Belmont. So obviously, you know I'm over the moon that Simon Belmont made it into Smash Brothers. He really is that missing piece from my childhood that I just want to go and start whipping fools so bad. Nintendo points out that Richter is an echo fighter of Simon, which means that the differences between them are subtle, particularly with respect to their basic attacks. I imagine, like with other echo fighters, we're going to see some balancing distinctions, probably on the lighter side, and then most notably aesthetic differences. In this case, they point out that his holy water is of a different color than Simon's. I know Simon Belmont from the original Castlevania on the NES, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, and Super Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo. I also played Castlevania 3, but that stars Trevor Belmont, one of the ancestors of Simon Belmont. Richter Belmont is one of Simon Belmont's descendants. I believe his first appearance was in Rondo of Blood, which was a follow-up to Super Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo, and its initial release was only in Japan. I think it came out a couple years after Castlevania 4, but it didn't actually make its way stateside until the Virtual Console on the Wii in the mid to late 2000s, maybe around 2007. He did make some other game appearances, Symphony of the Night and Nocturne of Recollection. All of these are games I never played, so I never actually played a game that features Richter Belmont. And this isn't the first time that Smash Brothers is going to be the first time that I play a character, so that's one of the most exciting things about Smash Brothers to me, is not just the opportunity to play as characters that I have loved for literally decades in the case of Simon Belmont, but also the opportunity to introduce me to characters so that I can fall in love with them for the first time, to inspire me to want to go back and play some of the games that they came from. Which has me curious, I want to ask you, which character did you first play in Smash Brothers before you played any of the games from their franchise? And their representation in Smash had so much appeal that it made you actually want to go back and play the game that they came from. I imagine we might have a few Fire Emblem characters out there, as Marth and Roy appeared in Smash Brothers long before they ever appeared in an actual game stateside. But as a lot of these characters originated in games that came out long before the Smash game that they appear in, like NES for example, I bet we have some pretty interesting ones out there. Let me know in the comment section below. We've got another item to draw your attention to. Abra, a Pokeball Pokemon. Abra has a pretty interesting effect on the battlefield. Abra ensnares a nearby fighter and then teleports them to some random location on the screen, and that potentially could locate you somewhere off the screen. So if I understand correctly, Abra could be an insta-kill. It's that kind of random and crazy element that keeps Smash interesting. No matter how good you are, when items are in effect, it's anybody's game. The song selection for the week is Gangplank Galleon. Donkey Kong Country has one of the most amazing soundtracks, bar none, of any video game. The jungle beats are poppin', the underwater music sets some of the most serene scenes around, and the boss music has just the right notes and beats to set the tone. The original Gangplank Galleon, I'm really having a hard time saying that, Gangplank Galleon, is gaming gold as far as music is concerned, but this Smash remix is even better. They've really upped the tempo, which seems to be the direction that they're going for a lot of these remixes. You saw the same thing from one of the Legend of Zelda songs that they highlighted, which I also think was the final battle. So Smash Ultimate is really pushing for these driving, epic musical pieces. I love it. If you have not gone to SmashBrothers.com and checked out some of these checked out some of the music, do yourself a favor, they have a special little music tab right there. All you need to do is click on it and see all of their offerings that they have currently available, and they're adding stuff every week. The next selection on the Smash blog is Dracula's Castle. This is so far the stage I am most excited about. It seems so huge. I don't know if it's just me or the way that they're presenting it, but it seems so multi-tiered, and every different angle that they present of it seems like we're in a completely different space. Maybe it'll be like some of the other morphing stages that they have, where you start in one place and then over time it kind of puts you into another one, like one of the Fire Emblem stages or some of the Pokemon stages. In any event, it's definitely the darkest stage. They made a specific point of mentioning that in the direct. And it has so many iconic monsters featured. Mummy, werewolf, Medusa, Frankenstein, that little guy who sits on his shoulder, even Dracula himself. Which calls to mind another point from last week. I asked you guys to help me decode that little mystery figure from the silhouette that was sitting outside the window, and boy, did you guys come through. Dozens of you pointed out to me that it was Kid Dracula. At first, I have to admit, I thought you guys were joking with me. And then I started seeing it come up over and over again. One of my player pals out there was even kind enough to send a link to a Game Explain video where they do a breakdown, making a pretty compelling argument for it being Kid Dracula. I took a look at all the evidence, decided I'd do my due diligence and run a little experiment myself to see if I could conclusively confirm our hypothesis. And as far as I'm concerned, that puts a nail in that coffin. Now here's what I have to say about that. I think the fact that they show all of these incredible, iconic, universal monster type villains, including perhaps the most prolific horror monster of all time, Dracula himself, and yet they have in some way set another mysterious villain above him by shrouding him in mystery, and that this would turn out to be Kid Dracula, a character who is far more lighthearted in a game that's much lighter tone than any of the Castlevania series, which are these dark, gloomy, gothic, medieval fantasy set pieces. And to mix in this cartoony little vampire, I think that is just so Smash Brothers. I really love the way that they're drip feeding the information here. They're giving me just enough to keep me excited, even though a lot of the information they're covering on the Smash blog day by day is stuff that we do already know. We know a lot of the characters. We know a lot of the items and trophies and stages. By giving us these little glimpses into the mystery, it really helps Smash fans like myself to keep the hype level at maximum intensity. Just like in the Castlevania games, Dracula's castle features candles that, if you hit them, items will appear. Presumably, these items could be any of the items in Smash Brothers. I don't know that they've confirmed any kind of limitations or stage-specific items. I cannot wait to see what the loop cycle is like, where the pitfalls of the stage are, where the different monsters emerge, what conditions need to be met for these monsters to appear. Well, there's so much information we already know about this stage. I feel like every single thing that they tell us raises 3 more questions. December 7th can't come fast enough. We've got another character highlight, and it's another Echo Fighter. This time we're taking a look at Kromm, a character who almost made the cut in Smash Bros. For Wii U. But as we mentioned last time, it was ultimately decided that he was too similar to Ike. For those of you who saw last Smash Ultimate Countdown, you heard me say that Kromm was an Echo Fighter of Ike because that's what I assumed he was from the video. I saw him do some moves of Ike's, and I referenced Palutena's guidance in which Veridi actually compares Kromm to Ike, saying that they were too similar. But I did find out before that video went live that he's actually an Echo Fighter of Roy. And since that, I've watched him move a little bit to try to see if I could see Roy in him. And honestly, I still think he's a lot more reminiscent of Ike. Maybe that'll change when I get my hands on him. One of the distinguishing features of Roy in Smash for Wii U is that he actually holds his sword in a reverse grip. Kromm, however, uses an orthodox grip. Of course, this distinction can be purely aesthetic, but as somebody who is a professional sword fighter, the radius of the attack when your sword is in a reverse grip versus when it's in an orthodox style is pretty different. But of course you can totally play fast and loose when it comes to sword fighting physics. We see it all the time. One of the most famous examples is when Link sheathes his sword over his back. The truth of the matter is, Link's arm isn't long enough for how long his sword is for that to actually be physically achievable. Go ahead and try it for yourself. It's actually a pretty interesting experiment. Use a little stick or a broomstick, see if you can do it. Not a criticism, just an observation. I, for one, am really happy he's in the game. I've gotten pretty soft on the guy. I've said a number of times, maybe not as myself, but in the form of TJ and Dark TJ on Smash Supremacy, that Smash Brothers does not need any more Fire Emblem characters, but I'm gonna give Kromm a pass here. I'm really glad he's there. And the final character highlight for the week is Dark Samus. The first thing I noticed about Dark Samus, as I mentioned in the last episode, is how she floats. She doesn't actually touch her feet on the ground when she's in her idle animation. The character's movement is apparently also floatier. She doesn't do rolls when she does her dodges. And then there are some aesthetic differences with her bombs and missiles. Actually, I've been referring to Dark Samus as a her, but on the blog, they refer to Dark Samus as an it. This caused me to look into it a little bit, as I haven't actually played a game where Dark Samus appears. And the sense I get of it is that Dark Samus is kind of like the symbiote from the Spider-Man series. This creature merged with Samus's Phazon suit and then also was able to utilize Samus's DNA to create a completely new life form known as Dark Samus. So I guess it's genderless, though I imagine it doesn't really matter much one way or the other. The most important thing about Dark Samus is the dark part. I may be the only one out there who feels this way, but I don't think we can get enough dark characters. It's one of my favorite classic gaming tropes. Dark Link, Dark Pit, Dark Samus, Dark TJ. Bring them on. And then the last thing I want to get into before we go is a little bit of speculation. Now, one thing you're not going to find on the show is any reports of leaks. I hate leaks. particularly when it pertains to Smash Brothers. I think the best way to be able to enjoy Smash Brothers information, Smash Brothers reveals, is in the appropriate time according to Nintendo's discretion. Sakurai is a master storyteller, and I would really hate to compromise the cinematic experience of Mr. Sakurai's vision. We live in a world where people can data mine information, where disreputable employees leak information, where attention seekers outright fabricate information. So I'm gonna steer clear of any leaks out of respect for you, because I don't want anything spoiled for me. But one thing I love is speculating. Amiibo Jason and I have a whole show based on Smash Switch speculation, cleverly titled Smash Switch Speculation. And if you know anything about Mr. Sakurai's history, he loves dropping little nuggets and clues to kind of foreshadow some of his upcoming announcements. So chatter in the social media sphere on YouTube and on Twitter is that the color of the chairs in the Smash Direct, the yellow and purple, as well as the pillows on the couch that were behind Mr. Sakurai during the Direct, might be a subtle nod towards another playable character. Who might this be? No doubt you've already heard. None other than the main villain of Majora's Mask, Skull Kid. Be still, my beating heart. Why did you have to do this to me, Internet? When Richter Belmont was confirmed for Smash, I thought I had it all. What more could a man ask for? And then we had to start talking Skull Kid. Majora's Mask is a standout Legend of Zelda game. Pre-Breath of the Wild, I could easily say it was my favorite. I love it so much, I made a complete set of Amiibo based on the mask transformations, and even did a collaboration with the amazing Toby Thornton to make this one-of-a-kind Skull Kid Amiibo. Have a look. I'm pretty proud of what I did there, but I am utterly gobsmacked at Toby Thornton's jaw-dropping paint job. That is the stuff of legends. So when people start talking Skull Kid in Smash Brothers, I am excited. My hopes are up. I swore I would not get my hopes up about any new playable characters. I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to continue to be asking more and more and more of this game, which is already shaping up to be the biggest Smash Brothers game of all time. But it's hard not to imagine what an amazing character Skull Kid would be. It would add another villain, a Zelda villain, a character who, while he's only made one canonical appearance, the mask has been referenced in many games, and it's certainly made an enduring impression in the minds of gamers and Zelda fans. I really don't believe Mr. Sakurai does anything on accident. As of yet, there hasn't been any confirmation about the return of the Skull Kid Assist Trophy, so he's currently MIA. Does that open the door for him to make his playable character debut? Or are we all just needlessly getting our hopes up? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And that wraps up another episode of Smash Ultimate Countdown. I really enjoy breaking the blog down for you week after week, and I really appreciate you tuning in. If you want to help me out, you can like this video, share it with any of your Smash fan friends out there, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that little notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of Smash Ultimate Countdown. Oh, I also want to plug my premiere show here on Nintendo Wire, Smash Supremacy. It started out as a fun little summer project, but little did I know at the time that Nintendo would continue to expand and grow the size and scope of Smash Brothers for Wii U, and that it would take over 2 years for all of the Amiibo to actually be released. So almost exactly 3 years from when the project first began, I finally finished the grand finale, and you can check it out right here on Nintendo Wire's YouTube channel. Big thanks to all my patrons out there. I love you. We'll see you next time. Thanks for playing.